Hi, this is John Mann from MannMade USA, and today I'm going to go through the steps on how to install a 6-post vintage trem on a vintage style Stratocaster or similar guitar. Here we have a pretty cool, nice Olympic white Strat with the vintage bridge, which we've already unscrewed and unhooked from the bottom, so out it goes. And in its place we are going to put this new MannMade USA vintage vibrato trem, which has the vintage mounting screws and 2 1/8 string spacing, so your strings will not hang off the edge of the fingerboard. A couple of important things to tell you. It says important. Read first. Watch the video. This is really important in installing our bridges. With the knife edge screws, there is a very particular way that things have to be done, and if you don't, you will damage the screws. Secondly, let's talk about all the different tools that you're going to need to do this. You will need a Phillips screwdriver, number 2 tip. You'll need a Phillips screwdriver with a number 1 tip. I like this long handle because it's going to help us adjust the intonation on the bridge. You'll need a small flathead screwdriver for popping off the springs when you do that. It's nice to have some needle nose pliers. You will need a hammer and some kind of flat punch when we install the trem springs on the back. So let's get started. Okay, so we now have our bridge off. We typically use the existing claw because typically they're soldered on, and a steel claw is pretty much a steel claw. And it's already assembled on your guitar, and let's just go with that for now. So we're going to drop our bridge on, and we're going to lay the guitar flat on the workbench. And you'll notice I've got a nice cotton, this is a part of a blanket, but you could use a yoga mat, which is underneath here, or a nice soft rug. Anything to cushion your guitar and keep it from getting scratched up on your table. So that's your bridge is going to go on there, and then the first thing we're going to do is unassemble the bridge box and get the hardware out from inside. This is really, really important. This is an important step. Here's your 6 mounting screws, and it has 2 drills included in it and a chart, a nice handy chart. This is really critical to the installation of your bridge. We give you 7 screws, 1 extra as a safety. So what you're going to do is take the longer of the 2 drills, the smaller diameter, the 7/64. You're going to take some painter's tape, and you are going to gauge this. Use the tape as your gauge, and you're going to measure this length that we want, 1.25 inches deep. And I don't have a tape measure with me, but I have my scale. So I am going to use 1.25 inches, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the piece of tape at the 1.25 inch point, right from the tip to there. And I'm going to go like that, and I'm going to put it in my pistol drill, and I'm going to drill this hole. As you can see, this one's already been done. You draw it straight down to that depth. Then you're going to do the same thing with the number 29 drill, and you're going to do that at 3/8 of an inch deep. And again, we're going to measure. I'm using my calipers. You can use a scale or a ruler. Okay, that's our little gauge. And again, you're going to drill that so that this goes down to that depth. And all you need to do is make sure it's vertical, not lean this way or that way or this way or that way. That's really critical. You want these to be nice and straight and perpendicular to the body. Okay? That will help you have a good installation. And then you can put these drills in your miscellaneous toolbox kit and save them for another day. Got our holes drilled, blow it out, get it nice and clean. Put your bridge down. Put your 6 screws in. Now I recommend you screw these in by hand. Don't use a power tool because you'll get them cockeyed and you'll break the screw and you'll be unhappy. So just put them in by hand. Takes a little bit of time. Okay, so now that they're all in, what we want to do is find our 2.5 millimeter Allen wrench, which is in this bag. That's going to be our feeler gauge to set the screws at the exact height. We want that, and we want that guitar pick because we're going to use that in a bit. So what I typically do is I will make sure I screw these screws below. What we're going to do is ultimately we want this to be right there at that height. But we're going to make it so that it's too small. I can't get the wrench in. Just bring them down all below. Okay, and I've found that it's easier to raise the screw head to the correct height than to bring them down to it. So in this whole process, your bridge needs to be sitting flat on the body. It should not rock, it shouldn't tip. Keep it flat. So it doesn't matter what side you start from. So now you want to raise that screw so that this wrench, when it's sitting flat, right? This is a hex thing, so I don't know if you can see it in the camera. It's hexagon. So you want the flat to be sitting on the body of the bridge, the plate, the bridge plate. And we're just going to raise that screw. I can feel it going in there. You just want to feel the slightest drag. And you also don't want, if you see the bridge tip, it's too tight. You don't want that bridge to move. Using this method makes it pretty foolproof. I saw that bridge move, so I know it's not in right. So I'm going to redo that one. It's a good thing to go back and recheck them all. Now we're going to flip our guitar over. Laying flat on the surface, make sure it's nice and clean, everything's flat. You're going to get your hammer and your punch. And then you want your tremolo springs. All right, next step is to install the trem springs. These springs have a kink in them. That's intentional. And when you put them in the hole, they are not going to go all the way down. You're not done. So you're going to put them in place. Now you're going to take, I use a punch. It's just a flat piece of steel. You could use a screwdriver, flathead screwdriver if you want. But tap these in so that they're bottomed out on the block. We want them to be right over the tang that we're hammering on. That bent tang keeps the springs from coming out. They will never pop loose on you now. So now you take your claw and get your springs hooked up onto your claw. You can usually do it with a small screwdriver. Just get them over the springs. Like so. We recommend running the springs parallel, not at angles, not 3 on one side, 2 on another. Parallel. Keep the tension equal. We find that that works the best. So now we're going to tighten our claw up a bit. But prior to doing that, we want to take this 1.5 millimeter guitar pick that I've included. That is a 1/16 in decimal inches. And why we do that is we're going to put that there. And you notice the bridge rocked a little bit. That's okay because there's no tension on it. Get it to sit flat so that it's into the screw thing. Now we're going to flip it over. So the point of that is it's going to help us keep the bridge parallel to the body. And there's a little trick we're going to show you in a few minutes on how to do that. So you want to tighten this up so that there's tension on the claw, on the springs I mean. You want that to be parallel here. Because I've got the tools, I like to measure it and have it the same. Within a couple thou. That's pretty darn good. I got it within 1/1000. Okay. So there's your back assembly all done. And now we're ready to string this thing up. Okay, so we're not really worried about how it sounds at this point. We're adjusting the low E saddle and the high E saddle so that we get the desired height on our strings. 93 is the spec on that side, 60 is the spec on this side. That's totally up to you, the user. If you like it lower or higher, you adjust it to where you want. But you adjust the saddle height, not the bridge mounting screw height, only the saddles. What we're going to do next is set the radius of the saddles to match the radius of the fingerboard. Get our radius gauge and set your saddles to the radius of that. This bridge was already adjusted a bit, so it looks pretty darn close. We're just going to tweak a couple saddles here. It's really important to keep the saddles parallel to the bridge plate, meaning the bottom surface of the saddle parallel to the top surface of the bridge plate. You do not want them angled. You do that, your guitar will not intonate correctly and the trem will not work properly. So we're just adjusting it. So I'll jack it up with one and just snug it up with the other screw. And that's all you need. And that looks great. So that's awesome. So now we are going to we're going to adjust our claw so that the bridge is parallel. We're going to float this bridge so that This bottom of the bridge is parallel to the top surface of your guitar body. So prior to doing that, I do need to tune the guitar up. It doesn't have to be perfect, but reasonably close to pitch. To doing the claw. So we are going to loosen the claw a little bit on each side, quarter of a turn, half of a turn. And I'm holding the guitar by the neck heel, not by putting my fingers around the string, because we want everything to be free and floating. So I usually just do a quarter of a turn each side. Boom, the pick fell out. Now we are in equilibrium. So, and the trem is sitting parallel to the body. Just what we want. I have found from experience that if I loosen the bass claw an additional quarter of a turn, it helps keep that guitar stay in tune, return to pitch when you're playing. And we are going to adjust the intonation. And we do that by moving the saddle frontwards or backwards. If I play the 12th fret, the octave note, and I'm sharp, excuse me, then the saddle, we have to elongate this part of the string, so we're going to move the saddle back. If it's flat, we're going to move the saddle forward. And we're going to use a number 1 Phillips screwdriver. And we typically do this in the playing position, like this. We just go to each string. So I got the strobe working and I'm on pitch there. And I'm sharp. So I'm going to elongate the saddle a little bit by moving that saddle back. That one's good. That's a little sharp. Always amazes me how well my assembly guys will put the saddles in, and they just do it by eye. We try to create a little stair step, and many times they're either dead nuts or very close. That's still a little sharp. When you're doing this, make sure you don't touch the bridge. That's good. A little bit sharp. Now, you put your arm in there. That needs to be adjusted. It's a little loose. That's a 632 screw. I like it so it's kind of snug and stays put. Awesome, guitar stays in tune. Thanks for watching the video. We appreciate your support. This is John Mann at MannMade USA. Bye now.